So a young colleague approached me, almost crying, asking for advice, saying that he submitted a paper to a journal and the paper was rejected on the grounds that it contains too much plagiarism. The colleague says that he wrote it completely on his own. There is definitely nothing plagiarized in there. And so he was confused, scared, outraged. So what do I do? And so I did ask for a copy of the paper, uploaded it to my Turnitin account to see what's going on there. And I saw that the similarity index was 30%. And then once I looked deeper, once I looked what that similarity index actually represented, I knew immediately what was going on. A very, very common tale. So let me analyze the paper with you so that you, either as a young academic or perhaps an inexperienced editor, do not misinterpret the similarity index as well as the AI index, because again, these numbers are not very meaningful by themselves. You always have to look deeper. So in this particular paper, it looks like 30% of the paper was copy pasted, which obviously is too much. It does look like plagiarism. But I immediately went to the end of the paper to see what's going on here in the reference section. And as expected, I see immediately that the entire reference section, which is like what, 3, 4, 5 pages, is flagged. And so this is obviously not plagiarism. So the settings in Turnitin were such that it does not include the references. And so it means that if each of these papers cited in this study has ever been cited by another paper, obviously they would have exactly the same reference. And Turnitin is not particularly smart, so it sees more than 5 words in a row or matching text in another source. And it immediately says, well, it's been copy pasted. And so right here you see quite a lot of references that are flagged as copy pasted material. Obviously, it's not plagiarism in the sense that somebody took somebody else's writing or ideas and presented as their own. So clearly here it just references. I went through the rest of the paper and I saw a few little things that, again, Turnitin flags. Usually once it sees more than 5 words within a sentence match, it flags it, but it definitely is not plagiarism. Let's see if we have anything else here. So one interesting feature of this paper is that it talks about instruments for measuring. I think it has something to do with tourism. Not my field, I don't know much about it. But I see a lot of instances like this one here. So these are the exact items from a survey related to roots tourism. And so the author, as you can see, provides these items word for word and in quotation marks. So something like, to travel to the land of my ancestors, to travel to the African homeland is a lifelong desire. And so these are actual items from an instrument that I assume was cited earlier. And obviously they match word for word. In fact, they are quotes. And Turnitin again takes this as copy-pasted material. Now, there are no references at the end of these quotes, nor the page numbers, because this is an instrument. Again, I suppose the instrument is mentioned in the methods section, but when you provide a copy of the item, I guess there is really no need to mention each time where it came from as long as you said it once. So again, it would be flagged as copy-pasted material, but it's not plagiarism. So again, a couple of instances where like 3-5 words match. Again, I wouldn't worry about it. Experiences that cater to needs of. Come on, I mean, this is not really plagiarism. Here is another typical example. So here we have the citation. Again, citation to the publication by Otu, Kim, and King. Again, as long as anyone else cited the same work, I assume they would cite it with the same authors and year. And obviously it matches. One thing that makes me a little uncomfortable here, I do not fully understand why initials are provided here. So normally it would be the last name and the year. And so I'm not sure if there are 2 citations or citations to 2 papers by the same co-authors on the same year, in which case, yes, we do add initials to make it to differentiate the two papers. But I don't know, I mean, maybe the original was cited like this, and the author, being inexperienced, saw it somewhere else and cited it exactly the same way. But again, I mean, obviously it's not using somebody else's writing and presenting it as your own. It's just simply a reference. Anyone who cited the same paper would have had exactly the same list of names and year. Let's see what else is here. This one is strange, like at all 2021. I mean, that doesn't look like plagiarism to me. Here I see more examples of actual survey items, and so they seem to match word for word. So again, this is not plagiarism. Obviously, the author is providing examples of the items used in the study, in an instrument used in the study. And I assume this instrument was developed by someone else and so cited here. Again, if I did it, I would actually each time add the citation to the original source, author year. I guess there is no need for a page number because this is not a sentence from the paper, it's from the instrument, although I guess you can even add page numbers if the instrument is published in its entirety. But in any case, it doesn't look like plagiarism to me at all. And so same thing here. So again, I would have added every time the reference to the original paper, but clearly these are not somebody else's words presented as your own. These are examples of the items used in either this particular study or in other studies. And here is even more of that kind of stuff, what I see. So having gone through the paper, I don't really see anything that looks like plagiarism. There are a couple of words here, but the study of tourism, the of tourism, I mean, these are generic terms, and anyone who publishes on tourism, I guess, can have this combination of words in a sentence. My understanding is that in this table we have a review of the papers on routes tourism with keywords. And yes, I guess if this paper had this list of keywords, and the keywords are listed on the paper itself, as they sometimes are on the first page, and the author literally just copy-pasted the list of keywords, then yeah, it would be the same list of words. Again, I assume it's presented as such and explained why these words appear here in this order. But yes, it doesn't look like plagiarism to me. So it's a lot of this stuff, but yeah, specifically author area keywords. And yes, if these are the keywords provided in the paper and recited here, it's really not plagiarism. And I don't think it needs to be in quotation marks with the page number. I would have added it just to be sure, but it doesn't look like it's the case that somebody tries to present somebody else's ideas or writing as their own. Again, not plagiarism to me either. And so yes, the 30% similarity index may indicate that 30% of the paper was sort of copy-pasted, but clearly it's not the case of plagiarism. It was legitimate copy-pasting needed given the nature and scope of this specific paper. I also see the 48%, what is it called, AI index. And so again, many people mistakenly interpret that as 48% of the paper was written by AI. And it's not what it means. It means that there is a 48% chance that some of the content in the paper was generated by AI, which also means that there is a 52% chance that it was written by human. So by a human, I wouldn't worry too much. But also when you look at, and I opened it here again, I'm making sure that the name of the author does not appear here. It's not important, so it's just simply an example. But very importantly, the author, I know the author, so he is a non-native English speaker from a country where English is not spoken. And I suspect what happened here is not that he asked AI to actually write the paper, but rather he probably wrote the paper, but then being not sure about his grammar and writing and wording, asked AI to improve the language. And so again, this is a gray area. Some people believe that that's unethical. Some people believe that it's ethical. I just came back from the Academy of Management conference where we had an extensive discussion in one of the sessions organized on this very topic. And so one thing that came up, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, well, So many universities not only allow but encourage their authors, professors, to use human copy editors. In fact, they even provide money to hire human copy editors who would improve your wording, not really ghostwriting, but copy editing. So especially if it's a non-English country, so obviously grammar is a challenge, wording is a challenge, punctuation is a challenge. And so to improve chances of the paper publication, but also as a service to the readers who want to read refined text. So it is totally fine. And as I said, even often money is provided by the university so that the professors could hire a copy editor to edit the text. So that is totally acceptable in most jurisdictions, and in fact, as I said, even encouraged. So now if somebody uses AI as a copy editor, all of a sudden many believe that that's a form of cheating. I don't know. I mean, if you believe that it's okay to use a professional copy editor to improve your writing, why is it not okay to use AI to plug in missing commas or maybe rephrase the sentences so that they're grammatically correct, or maybe even improve clarity by revising the sentence? So, and it does show here a bunch of sections that presumably have been edited by AI. And so I suspect that that's the case. I suspect it's not the case when AI actually wrote the text and generated the ideas, but rather where AI may have paraphrased to improve grammar, punctuation, and spelling and wording. And if so, again, most people probably will say that that's not plagiarism. So it's totally fine to ask a colleague who is an experienced writer to copy edit your text, or even a professional copy editor. Why would it be a problem with AI? So here, going back to this number here, 48 means that, well, it's more probable than not that the paper was written by a human. And then again, even if some parts were edited by AI, I personally wouldn't see that as a big problem. Again, I don't know how exactly it happened, and I suppose if the author said, write a paper for me, that obviously wouldn't be okay. And I'm not sure if the journal asks for the disclosure of how exactly AI, whether or not and how exactly AI was used. But at the very least, it should be, as it says actually here, caution percentage may not indicate academic misconduct. So I would not jump to the conclusion that there was any academic misconduct or cheating or plagiarism going on here. And so yes, many inexperienced editors look at this number 30% and at this number 48%, and they think, oh, 1/3 of the paper was copy edited, 48% was written by AI, reject without even reading, which is obviously a mistake, because once you dig deeper, you see that it's not the case of plagiarism, not the case of, I don't know, using AI and presenting AI's writing as your own. So this is a much more complicated story. Therefore, always, always, always look beyond the numbers. Go specifically to these instances and see where exactly that copy edited material comes from, how exactly it appears. If it's a reference, it's not a problem. If it's a quoted item, it's not a problem. So you have to be very, very careful with these things so that you do not make the misjudgment about the author. And as an author, if you get a rejection on this ground and you know that you wrote the paper on your own, I mean, obviously, if you plagiarized, you're screwed. Too bad. But if you know you wrote the paper on your own and there is this misunderstanding about the numbers, the Similarity Index and the AI Index, it's totally fine to go back to the editor, present the full report, and ask them to take a look at the report so that they understand it's not plagiarism. So be careful with these things, because yes, we are dealing here with people's careers, lives, and you cannot just look at the number and make judgment without looking deeper and understanding what's actually going on.